Hi, welcome to Robert Pears Photography. This is Robert Pears. I just wanted to give a brief video where we're looking at composition of a photograph and some simple techniques that will help you compose a better picture and hopefully get pictures that tell a better story. And this is true for point and shoots, but primarily and definitely for DSLRs where you have a lot more flexibility. So I want to share first of all is a rule that will definitely help you. So if we bring up a portrait picture here, you know, often we're taking portraits, we love to put our subject right in the center and place everything centered. But if you follow a rule called the rule of thirds, you get a better balanced picture and better composition. So if I take a picture and I divide it using lines here, this is at the 1/3 line, here's at the 2/3 line, the 1/3 line, 2/3 line, and then I think about my photograph where I want the key points of interest and place them using these lines, I get a better picture. Here we've placed the eyes along the 1/3 line, and we have actually placed this eye at a node, which is an intersection. When we think of a portrait, you're always drawn to the face. That's the most important part of it, and the most critical part is the eyes. The eyes in any portrait picture should be sharp, clear, and ideally placed right at one of these third lines or at a node. Let me bring up another picture here. Look at this. We placed the eye right at the 1/3 node here. Again, this is where our focus is on. We also have the lips and the hands on a third line. Gives a better balance to the picture. So again, think about the key points of interest in your picture, and can you place them using the rule of thirds and place them on one of these third lines and ideally at one of these nodes. Let's bring up a portrait, or sorry, a landscape. Here you see the horizon is at the 3rd line. And when you take a landscape, you either want the 1/3 or the 2/3 line. Not in the center, because then the picture almost feels like it's going to break in half. So we want it more balanced. And we place the fountain here at the node of one of these 1/3s. Let me bring up here another one. And in this picture, two things I want you to see here. Horizons at the 3rd line, not the midpoint. And we see here the barn, which is the point of interest, again, is along one of these 3rd lines. And the barn door, where we're really been drawn to, is right at one of these nodes. The other thing I want you to notice is the flow of the diagram. I'm using lines. Here, I like this picture because you have these lines here, and the lines are almost pointing, almost like an arrow, where? Towards the barn door. So we're using the flow and the lines in the diagram to point you to the key point. So the flow of the diagram, again, points you towards this, the lines. So if you can get a picture where you can get lines flowing, pointing the person, the subject, towards the key point of interest, it gets a really nice balanced picture. Let's look at another example. I bring up a wedding scene here, and I like this because again there's a flow to this diagram. We were drawn towards here, which is again on the 3rd point, the 3rd line here. Shadows and everything are drawing us into this wedding ceremony going on, and you know, again, so just look at the flow, and I like it. Again, look at the vibrancy of the colors. I like vibrant colors. Another thing to think about is the framing of a picture. So let's just bring up a simple picture here. Again, we're back at the wedding. I like this because you almost feel like it's a fairy tale wedding, because I've used the flowers here and I've used the gazebo to frame this picture, and so we've been drawn into this moment again, nicely framed. Let's look at another one. Here we're almost sneaking in on this couple as they're having a very private conversation, and I've used nature to frame it again, so that we're not being distracted, but we're really focusing in on this couple, and we're almost feeling like we're prying in on a very magical moment. Again, in this one, I've used nature. There's a very private conversation going on. We've framed it, and we almost feel like we're hiding behind the bushes here and catching this magical moment. So I like that one a lot. Here we've really tried to, in the last pictures, you know, we had a little more focus. Here I've taken a lot of the background out of focus, but again used nature and used a little contrast here to focus you in on this couple and give it almost a romantic moment here. So let's look at another picture, and I like to pull this one up. Here, if you look at the flowers, we see the reds and the greens, and I love to contrast this with the green background. We know this is trees, we know this is nature, but it's all very much blurred. So where are we focused? On the face, on the eyes, which again are on the third. So almost on a node here, so we're drawn to here, and we used a high contrast background to highlight and really give vibrancy to this picture, but focus you on the point of interest. If I do another one, here's a little child. I've used, I want a dirty, grungy kind of picture. Normally I don't like harsh shadows, but in this one we wanted that because we want this to be a very dark, grungy picture. When we look at people, and particularly portraits, again, we're drawn to the eyes, and here I want the eyes to be very penetrating, and I've used this high contrast background, the dirt, the grunge, so that your focus is right on the eyes. Immediately you're drawn to the eyes, which is what I wanted. Let me show you another picture. Again, here we've used nature as a background to frame this picture so that we're drawn to the kids, and the background, I don't want it to distract, but to complement and really get your eyes focused on where I want it to be. Let's look at this other picture here. In this one we see the flow of the diagram, and I like the balance here. I purposely placed them so I got the two lamps here and the curve here, and everything just kind of lines up, and in my opinion gives a real nice balance to it. I've done it in a sepia tone so that the background doesn't distract but draws you into this private moment of this couple. Let me go to another one using the rule of thirds. Here we see in this very dramatic picture taken in Joplin, our eyes have been drawn to the point of interest, which is this teddy bear right at a node. Let's just see if I got another picture here I want to show you. And this one I like is, again, contrasting colors. Can we get a scene where we're using contrasting colors? Blues contrast very sharply with oranges on this very winter morning, so that we, again, gives a little warmth to what should be a very cold picture. In this picture, again, look at the flow, and we see that everything drawing us to this couple. We see, again, the flow, the lines flow and draw us to. So I love this bridge, and I wanted it placed strategically so that we're drawn to this couple. That, again, you see the rule of thirds here applying, but again, the flow. So you think about your pictures, think about the flow, think about the key points of interest, where are you placing them, looking at what's in the picture and the flow of it. Again, I wanted everything high contrast. Even though this is green and red, I like the contrast of colors here, but not distracting us from the main subject. Let's see if I got another one here. I like this. Here's a Western picture where we see a cowgirl, we see the horse in the background, very much blurred out, adding in my mind to the picture, but again, the focus is on here. We love the wind flowing here, and again, we like the lines. They're flowing, you're drawing, everything's kind of almost like an arrow drawing you into her face. So again, some simple rules. Think about the rule of thirds. Where you're placing strategic points of interest, are they based on the rule of thirds? Thinking about the background, can you put a high contrast background in? Can you blur the background so that you're not being distracted by the background, but the background adds to the picture? Let me just show you one last picture that I think that will highlight that, and it's this picture. Here we're drawn in, here's a little boy at a wedding, and he is playing around with this pond and a rock, and you see the splashing here. We can see that there's a wedding going on here, everything's getting ready for the wedding, and we can see the mother here rushing frantically towards this child. But this is all blurred out because the focus is here. So again, looking at the composition of a picture, making sure the background either adds or does not take away from the picture, placing everything strategically, thinking about contrast colors, thinking about the flow, the lines in a diagram, so that everything, again, leads you to the subject of interest. Well, I hope this helps. Again, we'll add some more videos of different things to think about that I think will help you take more pleasing and well-balanced pictures and help you with your composition. Thank you, and we look forward to talking with you in the future.